When I'm walking down the street.
I do want to say to Doni and many of you in this room that over a very long career in this city, all of you have helped me and my colleagues tell the truth and to try to tell.
I may not look like you and you me, but
my head up.
I'm from South Carolina, so I
gotta be you.
What does this event mean to you, Miss Peggy Mars?
Oh, my heart,
Happy 20th anniversary.
my heart is about loving up on my sisters. Do you know what it feels like to have your sisters in the room? Done.
Gotta be me and gotta be different and unique. I'm gonna be the best me I can be by letting His glory shine through. I am beautiful, I am blessed, but not just what you see in the flesh. I'm free from people, free from myself. There's
The doctor lived next door to the janitor to the reverend and the lawyer. We were together. Now we get so high and mighty that you create stress for your society because you don't like poor black folks either. That's a health problem. Get yourself together so I can stop being taking care of geriatric people and get back to pediatrics. I thank you, Doni, for all you've done. Let's keep doing it all the more.
letting His glory shine through. Gotta be you, gotta be me, gotta be different and unique. I'm gonna be the best me I can be by letting His glory shine through. And I dare you, I dare you, I dare you to be you,
First name's Doni, last name's Glover. In it to win it for the long haul, baby. Beautiful day in the neighborhood. Let's start this week off with some prayer because I got so much to be thankful for, and maybe you do too. So, all wise Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. Bless this show. Bless us to touch people in a positive way. May we spread some good information to our community, information that won't be found on the mainstream. And we promise to give you, Lord, all the praise and all the glory in your mighty, matchless, and majestic name. Amen. My daddy said, always thank the Lord. I got a new grandbaby. Did I tell you? Avani is here. Oh, and I held her for the first time last night. I melted. Oh, my God. It's been 22, I guess. I don't know. Just holding a newborn. I'm just so scary. What? That little baby looked me in the eyes. I'm about to fall out. So today's guest is Mr. Ira Chase, and he doesn't know what this interview will be about. But it's not going to be just about Hoodfellas and Hoodfellas Bistro, their catering. They also have a nonprofit. But we have some other questions for Mr. Ira. I'm sure you saw in the news, if you watched the news, about what happened in Jacksonville. It's been called a federal hate crime, and an investigation is underway after a racially motivated shooting that left 3 people dead in Jacksonville. Horrible scenario. Federal hate crime investigation is underway after a white gunman with a swastika emblazoned assault rifle killed 3 black people at a Dollar General. Can't even go to the dollar store. So I'm sure that will be taking a lot of news. Of course, a few weeks back, there was the incident in Montgomery, Alabama. And I hope that this country can get to some normalcy. I hope that this isn't the beginning of something very ugly. I hope that people like Ron DeSantis and Donald Trump will stop flaming the fans of racial hatred. This country wants to ignore its history. Like a drug addict, a gambling addict, an alcoholic, you can be in denial all you want. But sooner or later, our addiction to racism will raise its ugly head. We can not teach about the real history that happened all we want, but it's going to come out. And so we might as well deal with it head on. Many thank you to our sponsors, including the Salvation Army of Central Maryland. We will be having a community meeting this Wednesday at Sharon Baptist Church here in Sandtown. We welcome everyone, especially if you have solutions. We plan to have people from the Baltimore City Police Department, people from the Department of Housing for Baltimore City. Who else? People from various elected officials, offices, State Senator Antonio Hayes, the Councilman John Bullock. We want to give the community an update, not just on the Penderhughes property, but some of the other developments that are happening here in Sandtown. So I'm going to check on my guest. Nope, he's still not with us thus far. What else? Started grad school over the weekend. Well, actually last week, but we had our first in-person class. You are on? It doesn't say so, Ira. It doesn't say so. Oh, you know what? Ira hit that, you say you backstage. Oh, I don't see. No, I don't see you, Ira. We might have to do Ira by phone today, and that's fine. So let's go ahead and do it that way. So anyway, I hope you had a good weekend. But it's a new week, and it's time to get busy. I can see and hear you. Okay, so we're going to do this this way, okay?
Okay, I can see and hear you, though, on the thing. That's crazy.
Okay, it's all good. So how are you today, Ira Chase of Hoodfellas?
I'm doing okay, Donnie. Thank you so much.
Good, good. Now, for those who don't know, and this is really theater of the mind, what is Hoodfellas?
So Hoodfellas is an African-American, completely owned bistro in downtown Baltimore, right at 7 North Calvert Street, inside of the historic Muncie building. We're right across from both of the courthouses on Calvert and Fayette.
Okay, and how long have you been in business?
So we've been in business since 2019.
2019. So Ira, normally, and let's go through some of your top selling dishes.
Okay, so definitely one of our top selling dishes is our jumbo lump crab cake, egg rolls. That's definitely a signature dish for us. Our mac and cheese, everyone absolutely loves. Yams. We like to say that it's kind of popular to be black at our place, right? So it's kind of like being at your auntie house, being at the cookout. So
Ira, I don't know if you heard my introduction, but we got some different questions for you today.
I did. I absolutely heard you say that. I don't know what the interview is going to be about today, but we have some different questions. I'm all for it.
Ira, I want you to speak to what it takes to start a business.
What it takes to start a business, I would say a lot of support from your loved ones and family. That goes without saying. Definitely a lot of prayer. There's a lot of ups and downs. But without that support, without your loved ones to kind of support you and lift you up, on those days that that you're beat down, I don't know that anybody could make it to start a business.
Okay, so the support system, and I just want to expand on that support system. You and I are both black men. We're both black men in a majority black city. We come from the inner city, and we have seen more than one brother go to prison, get strung out, get into selling drugs. We all need a support system, you think?
Absolutely.
I mean, a lot of times when you look at the recidivism rate in our community, it's like 70%. 70% of the people who get locked up go back. And I found that one thing that, you know, even people in recovery, you know, they sell a lot of drugs in the city of Baltimore, heroin, cocaine, crack. Even those people, recovery, need a support system. So the support system and the prayer that you talked about, we all need, huh?
Absolutely.
All right. So what else? I know you weren't expecting this. What else do I need in order to go into business?
So one thing that you definitely need is going to be a business plan, right? So you can't just go into business kind of winging it. You want to have a business plan in place. You want to know what your demographic looks like, the people that you're trying to sell your product to, whatever your product is. You need to have an understanding of how you're going to market your product, how you're going to make it accessible for them to purchase it from you. And then you're going to want to do a price comparison to your product versus others that sell the same or a similar product in your local community.
So a business plan that looks at the demographic. I am hearing you say I need to have a customer profile.
Absolutely.
I need to know who my customer is, what they like, when they're most likely to come into my establishment. And then I need to know about my competition.
That's right.
Especially those in my vicinity. So I got to look at all of the restaurants within a 1 mile radius of my restaurant.
At least. And then you want to also look at what are their points of distribution, right? So how are they getting the products to their individual customers, right? Is it walk-in business? Is it sit-down business? Is it delivery business? So remember, you want to have as many points of distribution as possible. People purchase things based off of convenience, the convenience to them. And so even plays into with your hours of operation. So like you have to be open when people want to buy, when it's convenient for them, not necessarily when it's convenient for you.
So before Hoodfellas, were you thinking like this? Like when you had I think you had a food truck at first?
Yeah, so we essentially started out kind of doing like small caterings and things like that, kind of selling food from a ghost kitchen type thing, and then we were able to move that into a grill, kind of tanker grill, where we were moving around the city, kind of doing pop-ups and things like that. And then during COVID, people thought we were absolutely crazy because we opened up a carry-out on like Pennsylvania and Baker Street. And that did very well for us. We were super lucky there. We were able to move that into the restaurant. So I would say that I certainly didn't have all this knowledge to start. A lot of things we kind of learned through trial and error.
But at some point, Ira, you have sat in somebody's classroom.
Well, for a lot of years, long before I was fortunate enough to run my own business, I worked for, some Fortune 500 companies, some Fortune 100 companies, and I was able to do very well with their business, right? So what I thought to myself is, if I can run someone else's business at a level of consistency, at a level of success, what does that look like for me to take my talents and really put in the work for myself?
I totally agree, Ira. I could not agree more. I did about 21 years out at Radio 1. And near the end, they started charging me. And it came to about $800 a month, $200 a week. And I said, just what you said, before I pay you $800 a month, I'm going to invest that $800 a month into my own business. I said that I'm not going to be doing any sharecropping here. If I'm going to be doing any hustling, it's going to be for me. So similar to what you said, if you did it for a Fortune 100, Fortune 500 company, then you started looking at how you could do it for yourself. Was it different doing it for yourself than, or I guess a better question is, how was it different working for yourself versus working for one of these Fortune 100 or 500 companies?
So the first difference I would say is the level of responsibility, right? And so when you deal with a Fortune 100 or 500 company, whatever, to that degree, any company that's not yours, so whether sales are good or bad or whatever that looks like, you run the payroll, and that payroll check is going to be paid because the company is paying it, no matter what degree. Now, with it being your own individual business, right, and you being responsible for that payroll, you're responsible for, again, making sure that payroll is paid. And that's whether you had the sales or didn't, had to come out of your own pocket or not. You're responsible for how people feed their family, and that is a serious responsibility and a heavy weight. And so we have 30 individuals that work for us right now. So that's 30 individuals in which we are responsible for how they feed their family. And so coming up short to any degree is not just affecting, us, but it's affecting how people feed their families, and that's super important to us.
You know, yesterday I was having a conversation, and it had to do with the level of expectation of African Americans, of Black people in business, and the conversation had to do with us not making excuses. At any juncture, did it come to you that you had to be above reproach, that you could not, I mean, you know, when you mentioned the hours, for instance, the hours of operation, one negative stigma or stereotype is that Black people in business will put a sign up that said, "Be back in 5 minutes." Did you find yourself having to differentiate Hoodfellas, you and Ben, I should say? Did you find that you had to differentiate your business from the typical excuses that we hear from people who aren't savvy in business?
I absolutely found that was very challenging for us. Moreover, before we even get into the hours operation, just because me and Ben, my partner, who's the executive chef, had the foresight to name the company Hoodfellas. And so obviously just that name in itself, we're fighting day to day with some type of negative connotation behind it. Because that name Hoodfellas was derived from neighborhood, the neighborhood that we grew up in, to that degree. And so when you talk about stereotypes, you have individuals, doesn't matter, white or Black, look at that name, and the minute that anybody feels as though you're anything less than professional, then they automatically want to draw the correlation between the name and a stereotype and say, "Oh, okay, so y'all act like that because it's hood, or, you know, because y'all are hood in here," or something to that degree. And so I really hold my team accountable for being beyond reproach, as you said, because we have that stereotype that we're fighting on a daily basis already.
You know, when I started Be More News, let me tell you, sir,
I can't imagine.
21 years ago, people from our community said that name is ghetto.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they said, Ira.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I paid it no mind because I had a vision. And I will tell you that 21 years later, you got Be More Doug, Be More Lifestyle, Be More Cat, Be More this, Be More that. Everybody be more. But when we first started out, and we were the first entity in this city with Be More in the name that I know of. And certainly the only one that's lasted 21 years. But back then, I remember people from our own community, "Oh, that's a ghetto name." And then you end up starting a trend. Okay, so anything else about fighting that stigma?
Yeah, so one thing around fighting that stigma is being able to be in places to where they really wouldn't expect you to be. And let me elaborate on that. So this past weekend, we were fortunate enough to be one of the culinary artists at the Baltimore Met Gala that was at the Hippodrome on Saturday. So 10 restaurants were selected. We were one of the 10 restaurants that were there. We were able to serve our beef short rib in a French wine sauce over a bit of roasted mashed potatoes. We served, well over 1,000 people. Everyone absolutely loved it. We had a table on the third level where we had like a folk picture background. We had people of all walks of life taking pictures with our background. Really happy with our overall service. And then if that wasn't amazing enough, all of the culinary artists were able to walk on the same runway stage as, artists and models, and we kind of was able to get our flowers for the event as well. And so when you look at things like that, like a black tie event, and it's people from all over the country coming to it, and then you look at that name and you say, Hoodfellas, what? These people are in the building? And that is how you go to turn a negative into a positive, right? Turn a stereotype into a household name, similar to what you've been doing for the last, 20 years, Doni. And so when you say Hoodfellas, so all of those individuals, when they see the name now, they will draw the correlation between seeing us at the Met Gala. It won't be any negative connotation or hood or anything out of that, because they've seen us there. They're seeing our level of professionalism. They've tasted our food. And so their thought process around it will be substantially different.
As you were talking, I thought about a lesson I learned from a Black journalist back in 2002. We were in Jordan. This was around the time the U.S. was about to invade Iraq. And he was from Pittsburgh. It was about 8 of us from various parts of the country. And he said something. He said, in order for your business to stand out, you have to run the ball. He was a football coach, also a journalist. But he said, you got to run the ball over there where the other guy ain't. Would you say that is a part of your DNA to do the unexpected, like you said, to get into rooms where you're not expected to be?
Absolutely. Absolutely. But one thing that I am always focused on is how to have our name out there and how to be relevant. 2 weeks prior to us being at the Baltimore Met Gala, we had a story ran on us on Channel 2 News, just in reference to what we did with Youth Works this past summer, and what we're doing around our nonprofit, and having young people in the restaurant as employees and training them to that degree. And so the goal is to have so many positive things associated with the name that when you see the name, you've seen so many positive things, whether that's nonprofit or Met Gala or, Baltimore City Schools or, the concession stand we have at Park Pool, whatever that looks like, you will have seen so many positive things associated with it that when our name comes up in the conversation, you'll say, oh yeah, we know those guys, or we've heard of them, and we would love to do business with them to that degree.
Now, I missed this. Did you say concession stand at Park Pool?
Yes. So we were able to secure a contract with Parks and Recreation and Parks, and for the last month and a half, we have had the concession stand at Drew Hill Park Pool, and so we're very pleased around that. We're looking to see what that will develop into for future partnerships with Baltimore City.
Well, congratulations. That's no light feat. I don't know if you know of Rashid Aziz. He owns Citywide Youth Development. They are located in the 2100 block of West North Avenue, and they make T-shirts, clothes. It's the home of Made and Be More clothing. In addition to the Be More apparel, they also make frozen sorbet. And as you were talking, he came to mind because his company, located right there in the 2100 block of West North Avenue, they were able to secure a vending contract with the Baltimore Orioles.
Wow.
So they're now vending their Camden Yards. It says to me, or does it suggest that you have not because you ask not?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And what's the worst thing that you're going to get done?
I know.
I mean, my goodness. I mean, haven't you been hearing no your whole life anyway? I'm not even surprised at this point when I hear a no. It's the yeses that I'm surprised with. The no's I'm looking forward to. I'm actually trying to get through as many no's as I possibly can just so I can get to the yes.
I was told that no means not yet.
And if you ask long enough, you're absolutely right. You'll change the conversation around that no.
When you think of, now I imagine you don't look a day over 30. I mean, you're in your early 30s.
I wish, buddy. I'm more like my early 40s.
Okay, all right. So you're still a young man. What do you foresee as you become an elder in the Black business community in Baltimore? Where do you see yourself in 10 years?
I would really like to see myself with me and Ben with multiple locations, able to grow the footprint and what we could also do to help the community, right? So grow the footprint from a brick and mortar or a location point of distribution standpoint, but also from what we can do around our nonprofit and how big our footprint is as it pertains to hiring individuals in the Baltimore metropolitan area, right? So it's a big deal to be able to help people feed their family. It's a big deal to be able to have people really be a part of something. And so we had, at the event, we had 3 servers from the restaurant and brand new chef jacket uniforms. And we had a young lady that was 18 years old, basically has been sous chef in the kitchen. So Ben is touching every dish, making sure that it's plated accordingly, coming out perfectly. And then you look at all of these other restaurants and chefs and sous chefs and all of that, and Chloe, who came to us through our nonprofit, graduated high school while she was working for us, goes to BCCC right now. And so this young lady at 18 years old is in the kitchen with Ben at the Met Gala, preparing plates for 1,000 people. I mean, there's no way you could put a price tag on that level of experience, on her being able to see that. And then when we walked up on stage, and we're super happy, we hear people screaming our name, and we go to look up, and it's our servers or our team, waving from 3 floors up with a camera recording, and they're extremely pleased. And we look up and we're happy, right? So not happy that they're waving their hands or just recording, but happy because they feel like they're a part of something. Because on that day, while they were there, when they had Hoodfellas on their chef jacket, it meant something. When they walked around and people say, "Oh, Hoodfellas, oh my God, that food was amazing. Hey, we got to stop down and see y'all." That had them feeling like they belong to something. And at the very least, we can all only hope to belong to something greater than ourselves. And that is one of the proudest moments that we've had in business thus far.
So who is your mentor?
So I had a mentor, God rest his soul, he passed away. His name was Will Luck. I will never forget that guy. He was on me like white on rice in a snowstorm, Donnie. I mean, wouldn't let me breathe, wouldn't let me get up, like nothing. I just, no matter what I did, he was like, "Where's it at? I want more. What are you doing?" And like, he really pushed me from a business standpoint, right? And then just early on in my life, man, like my mother, by far, watched my mother get up every day, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., work nonstop. When she got off of work, as tired as she was, if you ain't had that homework on that refrigerator for her to review, man, you was in trouble. And if it looked sloppy, you was writing it over. Like, just watching her work ethic, hindsight being 2020, I certainly have got my work ethic from her to that degree. And even now, one of the proudest things that I was able to do is able to, retire my mother. And even in retiring her, she is the individual that is like, if you have catering for the restaurant, or you try to book a party or something, and you book it through the website, she's the person that's calling you, because she still got to have her hand in something, to do something retired and all. So, like, those two individuals really help, drive and push me forward.
Early on, you talked about support. You talked about family and one support system. The reality, though, is that a lot of business people don't get the support of family. How does that work on the psyche, on the mind?
Well, I mean, whether that's in business or in anything, you need support, and whether that's a significant other, a loved one, whatever, you absolutely, positively must have support, because days are hard, man. Days are hard and they're long. And every now and again, when that doubt creeps in your mind, when that thing come up and say, man, listen, this is just too hard. Now you just go get a regular job, punch in and out, and that's what it look like. You need someone to say, hey, listen, like, I see you. Like, I see you. I see what you're doing. Just stay on it. Stay after it. Like, it'll pay off. Like, it's hard for a reason. That old saying, if it was easy, everybody would do it.
That's right.
Like, yeah, absolutely. The hard is what sets you apart from other people. And just so we clear, Frederick Douglass said, without struggle, there is no progress. Right? Absolutely. And so will you ever allow yourself, believe in yourself enough that you'll ever be anything more than you are right now? And the problem is that everybody, Doni, and I mean everybody wants the destination, but nobody wants the journey, right? We want to wake up and be a millionaire. We want to wake up and everybody got the lottery. I want to hit the lottery. That's going to be it. And then that's why you hear when Doni hit the lottery for $10 million, and then in 3 years he was broke.
No, not Donnie, Billy, George, not Donnie. Oh, heck no.
But you get my point. That doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter. You have to have some type of plan in place for your life. With whatever you do.
What really comes to mind are our athletes.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
After 2-3 years of after the NFL, after the NBA, you've heard the stories, I've heard the stories where dude is broke.
Yeah.
Flossing. How have you dealt with the lure of boss life? Because, people who don't know the word, my ex-mother-in-law, she posted something I'll never forget. She says, he who carries his own water learns to appreciate every drop.
And that makes perfect sense, though, man. That's why every time you see a billionaire, they look like a regular Joe. They wearing flip-flops, they wearing tatted jeans, they wearing t-shirts. Those individuals who built their life from nothing really appreciate what that looks like. And fortunate for me, man, I don't have the option of doing all that anyway. Like, I'm married, 4 kids. One of my oldest kids is in college. So like, I have responsibilities to that degree, right? To make sure that my household is taken care of. And I'm really good with trying to retire at an earlier age than Social Security, Doni. I don't want to be 70 trying to retire. I like to retire before then and travel a bit and live the life that I like to make my family accustomed to. And if I've done it right, then when it's time for me to do that, I will have trained my kids well enough that they'll be able to take over the business to that degree, which is why my son works for me in the business now, kind of learning it top to bottom. So I'm trying to pre-plan that, if that makes sense.
Tell me about self-discipline, because you kind of alluded to what's stopping you from going out and getting the Maserati. I don't know that you don't have a Maserati. What's stopping you from going and get the $120,000 Cayenne Porsche?
First off, man, we still a young business. It's only 2023. We only been around since 2019. That would be a misappropriation of funds, buddy. So that's the first thing. The second piece of that is long term, right? So long term, we've got to be able to provide for our people, right? And so again, we have 30 people that are employed for us right now. So like if business came to a halt right now, you know, like I don't know, if the stove stopped working in the restaurant or something to that degree, how would you maintain that, right? So you're responsible for how people feed their family, and you cannot do that with you splurging and just spending money on unnecessary things. I have a nice house, but I had that house before I started the business. I have a nice car, and I had that before. Like we're a young company, man. I'm like, so we have 10 locations or something to that degree. You know, I might buy the new G.I. Joe with the Kung Fu brick, but until then, I'm happy to be able to show my kids what right looks like, if that makes sense.
Oh, it does. It does. So are you a Christian?
A Baptist. Grew up with Fulton Baptist right in North Avenue, actually.
You sang on the choir?
I did. Hey, no, man, I can't carry a tune. I ain't sing on the choir.
What you do in the church? I see you doing something in the church.
Man, listen, I was an usher a couple times. Usher a little bit. Nothing wrong with that.
How important is your faith to your life?
I would say faith is super important, man. So again, as I alluded to earlier in the conversation, it's super important to belong to something greater than yourself, right? And so when you think back, you think about those people that came before you, right? So those people that came before you that broke the glass ceiling or kicked in the door because you wouldn't even have an opportunity to be where you are if there were not people before you that had it harder than you, that did it to that degree. And so like that's super important. I mean, I had the benefit, the sheer privilege of growing up in the household with my grandmother, God rest her soul, who was the only way to explain her would be like a warm smile wrapped in a rainbow. I mean, like she was that, man. She was that. And so like my absolute best friend growing up. And so a lot of my understanding of like emotions or how you treat people came from her teachings. And so a lot of times, even though she's gone, a lot of times I just have conversations with her, like, hey,
I'm with you.
Yeah. Keep just have conversations with her to keep me grounded, man. Hoping, praying that she's looking down and able to see some of these things. But certainly some of it is based off of what she put into me day in and day out growing up. So from a faith standpoint, that's certainly where I stand.
What was her name?
Sonia.
Miss Sonia still looking over top of us. Okay. Pop quiz. 3 successful business people that you look up to.
Oh, okay. 3 successful business people. So I would say Don Cutright. So Don Cutright is at Baltimore Community Lending. Really good relationship with Don. He's helped us grow our business quite a bit. So we love Don Cutright. We have Tion, who is the owner of Remix Bar and Grill, the only African American restaurant in Little Italy. Really good friend of mine. Really intelligent business guy as well. And then Zeke, so Zeke Way, which is events for good people, right? So got a really good relationship with Zeke. Zeke was one of the reasons that we were able to participate in the Met Gala event this past Saturday. We've worked with Zeke before. Zeke was able to get us into the Black-owned restaurant tour for CIAA. So those individuals are definitely individuals that has helped us along the way that I super look forward to. And then I would also say, man, the fourth person, let me not forget, you actually, Doni. So like when we first started out, we didn't know a whole lot, man, from a can of paint. And then you came into the restaurant, man, and said, hey, hey, I'm Doni. I got this show, man. I like to have y'all.
Ezekwe helped nurture that.
Oh, okay. See, yep. See that? Look at that. Zeke always got his hand in something. But I mean, like you specifically, had us on the show. I mean, when we first started out, didn't know us from a can of paint. How
could I not support you, man? You're in the Muncie building. I remember that building 30, 40 years ago. We had to do, I was working with my cousin. We did some cleaning out in that building. And so to see a young Black teen in that building, in that space, that is not the norm in this city. This is a very segregated city. It kind of takes me back to something my dad said years ago. If you get out there and try, somebody might see you and help you, but you'll never know if you never try. It didn't matter who you were. I saw two young Black men in the Muncie building, and I had to be a part of that. Y'all in my bailiwick. Hey, let me in.
See, but you know what, Doni? If it was just that, that'd be cool, right? So, but when I say thank you, I'm not just thanking you for that, right? So a lot of times I am physically just running around the restaurant, just doing the day-to-day, and I look over and I see you sitting there having a meal, right? And so when you're having a meal, you're often not by yourself. You're often having a meal with someone else or having a meeting there or something to that degree. And that, for me, is the definition of support, right? And so having me on your show or having me been on the show is one thing, right? But just on your regular everyday, for you to have a meeting there and buy food from us, for you to just sit there and have lunch on any given day, you could go anywhere. But like your choice, you're making a conscious decision to go there. That's a big deal for us, and we super appreciate that.
Well, it's important that we support each other. Tell me about getting elected officials to come to Hoodfellas. How is that?
So I'm all about building relationships, right? So for you to build relationships, you have to have a story, and you have to be able to articulate that story. So long time ago, somebody helped me perfect my elevator pitch, as they would say. So 30 seconds or less, tell somebody who you are, what you do. And it has to be prevalent enough that it doesn't bore them, so they don't say, well, here's just another person talking to me. But it also has to be meaningful enough that someone takes something away from it, right? And so when you talk about an elected official or CEO of a company or anybody that multiple people are clamoring to get to, when you get that opportunity, those 30 seconds in that person's presence, you have to be meaningful for them to that degree. And then after you're able to do that, just being able to stay connected, right? And so a lot of times the problem is that people only ask or communicate with people when they want something from them. And people are smart enough to see that. So there are days and months that goes by that there are not people that are in that restaurant, but I am still consistently, shooting them a text message, giving them a phone call, sending them an email so that I can stay in contact with them so that they know that we care about them as a person, right? As a general person and how they are and what's going on in their life, and not as just somebody that we need to do something for us. And that is, in my opinion, is what distinguishes us between.
When I see the mayor or the city council president in your spot speaking positively about your business, when I hear the mayor saying that he comes there all the time, or he sends somebody there, or when he comes in and he knows the people on your staff, I couldn't be more proud, because if the politics does not translate into economics, then all we have is some window dressing. So on that note, kudos to Mayor Brandon Scott, kudos to Council President Nick Mosby and others for being intentional about coming to Hoodfellas. Any thoughts?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. I would also like to add Senator Antonio Hayes, Senator Corey McCray, individuals that have been super supportive of us throughout the years. Downtown Partnership President Shalonda Stokes, Marilyn Mosby, I could go on and on. Really predominant Black figures in the city that has really given back quite a bit to the community, and sought to support us when they certainly didn't have to, and it has really helped us grow along the years.
Well, they didn't have to, but they have to if Be More News catch wind of it, because that's what we're supposed to do. And I'm not surprised by any of the names you mentioned, because I've seen them in your establishment, when we did the Black Wall Street, but I imagine other times. And one thing that we know in Baltimore, I don't care if you're from East Side, West Side, Cherry Hill, the Village, we know authentic. You don't have to be in love with somebody to support their business. And if you see that they're hiring 20 and 30 people from your community easily, and this is no disrespect, you are 2 minutes from the block. Easily, our young women could be considering being strippers as opposed to waiting tables or becoming a sous chef or becoming a restaurant manager. So when you have somebody in your community providing opportunities for 30 plus people, it is our obligation to support. It's our obligation. Okay, pop quiz. 3 traits of a successful business person.
Self-discipline, being humble, and being a servant leader.
Now, what's the servant leader thing all about? I know self-discipline, I get humility. What's your take on servant leader?
So people do as you do. They don't do as you say. So a servant leader is someone that is serving their team. And because they're serving their team, when they go to rally their team, ask their team to do anything, their team always comes through. So, for instance, when I walk into the restaurant, as I walk in and I see areas of opportunity, I am fixing those areas of opportunity and then showing individuals how we fix them. So when I walk in, if there's a table that needs to be cleaned off, I'm cleaning it off. If something that needs to be wiped down, I'm wiping it down. If the trash needs to be taken out, I'm taking the trash out. And it's important that my people know that I will do all of that as the owner. And so if I will do all of that as the owner, then when I ask you about your job, if I ask you what you're doing today, then how could you possibly tell me anything other than that when I've done it? If that makes sense.
All right, here's this is a curveball because it's still baseball season. Tell me about code switching.
You said about code switching?
Yeah, like when you're on Pennsylvania Avenue at Baker Street, certainly you don't want to come across too stuck up, too corporate, too Fortune 500-y. But then when you go downtown, you can't bring Pennsylvania Avenue to Calvert Street unless you like trying to get somebody's attention real quick in the kitchen, like, look.
So I call that about meeting people where they are, right? So you got to meet people where they are. And so again, so at our place, this is like your auntie house. It's like the cookout, right? So to that degree, it's important that everyone is comfortable there, whether you're an elected official, or whether you just so happen to see us on Instagram and you came from down the block and you came in there and what's up. You got to meet people where they are, right? So you got to give everybody the same level of respect. And so to that degree, we have our specific standards that we have in our restaurant on what type of experience we want to create to customers and what type of,
the tone.
Yeah, absolutely. That we want to give off, right? And so to that degree, so everybody, money is green the last time I checked.
Yes, sir. Right?
Whether or not that is someone of what the community would say is of stature or not. If somebody's coming in there and they're spending their money, then they're going to get a certain experience because, to your point, that's something that we owe them, right? Yes. So the thought process is that we'll give everyone a great customer experience no matter where they came from, walk of life. And by that definition, they will go back and tell someone else, hey, like this was a good place. This is where you want to go and spend a date night or have drinks after work or whatever that looks like. So that's absolutely what we do. We have to provide that experience to everyone.
Okay, well, we're almost done. Just 2 more points. I want you to go back to your mentor, Will. Tell me a little bit more about some of the lessons he shared with you that stick with you today.
So he definitely drove into that servant leadership part. He was absolutely a servant leader. He certainly was, right? And so that guy never told you anything to do that he wouldn't do himself. And as he explained something to you, he didn't stand there and explain it to you. He kind of showed you why he was doing it. So, hey, this is how you mop the floor. This is how you wipe the table. This is how you set up, production. This is what it looks like. So, like, here, I've done it. Did you see what I did? Did you understand it? Cool. Let me see you do it, right? And now, so we can make sure that you have a clear understanding of it. So that was one piece of it. And then the second piece of it, man, he had no problem with holding you accountable for it. He had no problem with bringing you to the carpet when you messed up or did something wrong. And most times, and that's where I learned that accountability wasn't a bad word. So people always say accountability. Oh, snap, somebody will hold me accountable. That means I'm going to get fired or something to that degree. That's not what that looks like. So we live in Maryland. This is an at-will state. So you can be, just like you can quit for whatever reason, you can get terminated for whatever reason. There isn't necessarily needing to be a reason behind it. So when people hold you accountable, that is a thought process in which they're trying to save you. They want to change your behavior so that you can do a better job, right? And so that's what the accountability piece is about. So, hey, listen, you showed up to work today and you want me to pay you for the day, right? Cool. But you're only doing half a job today. So like where's that level of enthusiasm that I usually see? And he would have those type of real accountability conversations and was understanding, right? Everybody got stuff going on. Hey, the mom in the hospital or something happened to my cousin or something like that. Cool, I got you today. But let's make sure that we shake this off. And tomorrow when you come in here with 100%, like I know you have it. So with that level of encouragement are lessons that I'll never forget that he taught me.
Do you think that you, as a, along those lines, as a Black man, business owner, that you have to have a higher degree of grace and mercy in dealing with our community, which is inundated with every daggone negative socioeconomic health factor on the planet? I mean, if you're telling me from Baltimore, my God, they talking about AIDS, STDs, asthma, lead paint, crack, dope, drug dealers, recidivism. I mean, what socioeconomic ill doesn't touch our zip code, especially 17? Do you have to have a higher level of grace in dealing with employees?
Absolutely, you certainly do, and it's unfortunate. A lot of individuals that have worked for us in the past and or work for us now have been through several jobs, or you'll see that they have many jobs in 1 year or something to that degree because they can't, get to work on time, or they have a problem with their social skills or different things to that degree. And a lot of times employers just say, oh, that ain't work, you got to go. All right, nope, that ain't work, you got to get out of here. And so Ben and I try to have those real conversations, try to have those straightforward conversations. A young man we had a conversation with said, hey, so listen, man, so you have an amazing work ethic, right? You do a good job, you don't complain, but you just can't seem to get to work on time. And I understand you're catching the bus, and that makes perfect sense, right? So, but that is going to cost you your job, right? So no employer to any degree is going to allow you to keep coming to work late. Moreover, you're a part of the line cook team. So when you're not in the kitchen prepping or you're late, that could set us back for the lunch rush. That could set us back for catering. All of those things are connected to your job around what that looks like. So every time you're not doing your job, someone else has to pick up the slack, and that's not fair to them. So you are a part of a team, and your efforts matter. You being matters, right? And so we had to explain that to him to that degree so that he understood it. So not, hey, you will come in again, be late one more time, and you're fired. That's what everybody told him. That's what he always heard. And so when he gets to that point, we hear that, he's like, oh man, all right, I gotta go find another job. No, it's not. You don't have to find another job. We're going to keep you here. So we're going to keep you here. And every day that you punch in late, I'm going to be looking you in your face, and you got to tell me every day why you're late. So what you going to do, lie to me every day? I'm going to need you to get to work early because you're part of this team. And you not being here on time, you're not letting yourself down, you're letting the team down. So every time you walk in here, look at all these people whose job you affected because you're being selfish and you're not getting up 30 or 40 minutes earlier. No, man, you're better than that.
That's good stuff. You got to put a plug in. It's only 2 minutes and it's not fair. So we'll do more the next time. But tell them the name and the purpose of your nonprofit.
Absolutely. So the name of our nonprofit is Chasing Your Dreams. We focus on workforce development for teens and young adults 16 to 24. So we teach them all of the interpersonal and technical skills they need to be successful in the workplace, right? And so we're super excited about that. We've given away a little over 3,000 shoes with our partnership with Amazon. It's really a fantastic nonprofit, and we're happy to give back to the community that helped us grow a business,
including the Squeegee Kids. I will never forget that event over there at the former Carmelo Anthony Center. I forgot the name of it, but we call it Carmelo.
Under Armour House now.
Under Armour, yeah. The outreach to the Squeegee Kids, and again, big ups to the mayor, because Fox just, well, I won't call names, but they just went in on our Squeegee Kids like they're the only ones standing on a corner. But anyway, you served them. Why was that important to you? How about that as the final question? Why was serving, doing outreach to the Squeegee Kids important to Ira Chase of Hoodfellas?
First off, Ben, who's my partner and executive chef, was actually growing up. He actually was a Squeegee Kid.
He was a Squeegee Kid. Okay.
Yeah, he was, and so he did that. He did that for quite some time. So that's a specific meaning to him around that. And then, in addition to that, right? And so a lot of times in our community, as you just alluded to, Doni, things happen to us from lack of opportunity, right? And so even when you're complaining about that Squeegee Kid, let's be real. That Squeegee Kid didn't have to squeegee. That Squeegee Kid could have been selling drugs, could have been trying to break into your house or your car. To that degree, if they're doing some type of squeegee work, at least they're trying to work for some type of money, right? So let's be clear on what that looks like. They're not asking for anything. They're at least trying to work for that. And so that means that if you take that same kid that already has that work ethic and you give them an opportunity, who's to know what they can do? They just have never had an opportunity, right? So that's what we need to identify. That's why it's important to us.
Okay. All right. We're almost done. Give me one success story. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to ask you to talk about one of the young ladies who you have watched come to your restaurant and just blossom. You already mentioned Chloe, so you can't mention Chloe.
Yeah, so we have Ashley, who is our manager at the restaurant now. So Ashley came to us almost 2 years ago as a server, right? Ashley is a single mom. Ashley has like 5 kids, single mom, super hard work ethic. Came to us, like I said, almost 2 years ago as an actual server, and grew from a server to managing in the restaurant. Ashley was at the Met Gala event on almost every day during the day that you go into the restaurant. You'll see Ashley in there running the restaurant. She like the head cook and bottle washer. She all over the place. She behind the bar. She serving the people. She in the kitchen. I mean, Ashley is a true credit to what it looks like to grow with an organization, and she is a really important member of our team. I'm
proud of you, Ira. Any final thoughts?
No, man, I super appreciate the opportunity as always to get our message out to the community, and we super appreciate the support. That's all for us.
All right, I need you to give me a date to do a Black Wall Street there in September, maybe an early night in the week, but we can't wait till, you got once a year ain't enough. We got to come back, and I need a date for September, so think about it.
All right, I'll certainly give that some thought, man. I appreciate you, brother.
We appreciate you. How can people follow you, your website, contact, address, phone number?
Absolutely. If you type in Hoodfellas Baltimore, it'll absolutely pop up, and you can get to the website directly from there. We're on Instagram at Hoodfellas Hospitality Group. You can find us on Facebook at Hoodfellas Bistro and Catering. We're on Twitter, TikTok. That name, as unique as it is, it's easy to find us because that name is super unique.
Good deal. We're proud of you, Ira. May the good Lord continue to bless you and yours, and may Grandma continue to smile down upon you.
Thank you, brother. Have a great day.
Great day. Good morning, world.